Franklin MINTIKA LINTURI. His recent outbursts were a surprise to me. All indications were that he would be reintegrated into the Ruto government. In the intelligence world, you rarely get information from among friends. You get most intelligence from friends turned enemies. One thing that struck me most is the possibility of ire from those who stood by Ruto during 2022 general election. It appears that those who stood by Ruto that time do feel that after Ruto has been elected, he has amewaruka. From where I am standing, they appear to me to be very much annoyed that after the Gen-Z issue, Ruto not only thought of his personal survival and not them, and that he should have given them a soft landing. Of course, Kenyans are not happy with most Kenyans are not happy with the fact that most of the former CSs came back in other forms. You can see the Kina Owalos of today. They came back as given other new ranks. People like this Kuria, he was given a position of, I don't know, senior government economic advisor and such things. Kenyans were not happy that when Ruto said that he's sacking his cabinet, he brought them back in other positions. But then here we also see that those people who stood with Ruto during the 2022 are also not happy that some of them were not given soft landing. Another fact that is coming out is that there are two groups of people who supported Ruto. There are those like Rigathi Gachagua and Lituri who joined Ruto directly without going through parties like others who signed, who came with briefcase parties. There are those who came briefcase parties, and it is now obvious that those with the briefcase parties had a favorable outcome. Those who didn't come with the briefcase parties are regretting. So it seems that come 2027, nobody would want to join UDA directly. Most of them would want to have their own parties so that they sign. They have seen political heavyweights who did not form political parties but joined Ruto because they trusted him. Another thing that is coming out is the apparent picture that people are saying that Ruto should not be trusted on his word. It is only you have to sign an agreement with him. Because what they are trying to say is that those who signed agreement with Ruto are benefiting. But those who trusted him and just entered into an agreement with him verbally are regretting. So that message is coming out. Another thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at with close lenses is the issue of, let's say, in Luhyaland, two parties. There is the former ANC, and then there is the Ford Kenya. When 2027 arrives, we are going to compare and contrast the two. The outcome from people who used to be in ANC and are in Kenya Kwanza coalition. We are also going to look at Ford Kenya, which maintains and maybe will still have maintained its uniqueness within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. So sometime in future, we may have to compare the two and the eventualities should they have two different outcomes. Linturi's case is not over until we address the issue of fertilizer. You remember the fake fertilizer? Just like General Gola's accident, where we said that perhaps if it involves seniors, they would understand the juniors. Many military accidents have happened. Military airplanes accidents have happened, and they have been involving junior officers. When the CDF died in such an accident, we felt that maybe that a senior officer has now died, then the Ministry of Defense would now turn and reject second-hand throwaway. Somebody call it atupamundu. Atupamundu. Maybe we will reject issues of having second-hand helicopters or planes being given to us. We said now that all our planes are old and whatever. Now that such an old malfunctioning aeroplane has killed a general, the government would use that as an opportunity to learn that we should have 3 brand new planes other than having 10 rejected planes being given to us. But of course, the government has not learned from that. That is why I'm saying that Linturi's case is also giving us the feeling what Linturi and other senior politicians are feeling what we people on the ground have felt for decades. We have assisted you to get in political offices, and the first thing you do is you forget us. So Linturi should also know that we people on the ground, we campaign, we do a lot of things for you people. And once you assume offices, you forget us, the people. So whatever, so even though painful, what we want through, you should also know that we also face the same. Look at the issue of Mrima. Look at the issue of Mrima. There are those politicians who stood with UDA. There are those politicians who stood with Kenya Kwanza. And there are those politicians who stood by Rigathi Gachagua. What did Rigathi Gachagua do upon being made the deputy president? He appointed Kimani Ngunjiri as his gate man. Kimani Ngunjiri, the person who coined the word kieleweke. Now Kimani Ngunjiri became the most important person in Mrima. So that should you want an appointment with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, it was Kimani Ngunjiri who did the vetting. That explains why people get annoyed. We do all the donkey work for you. You get elected. You take the most senior person from the other side and make him as though he did the 90% of your campaign. I have talked about Ndindi Nyoro in a recent video. You can watch it. In the Ndindi Nyoro case, I said that if we elected leaders because they spend more on campaigns, expect substandard. Substandards come in many ways, including those who financed for the campaign. Supposing that the company that supplied the fake fertilizer is one of those that financed for the campaign, for the Ruto Kenya Kwanza campaign. What happens? Two things come to my mind. One, they would do monkey business so as to recover the expenses that they used and save for the future. Let me elaborate that. This company, and that is my theory, this company used its money to give Ruto and Kenya Kwanza to campaign. Let's say 2 billion. Now, when Ruto has gone in, this company comes, they are supposed to supply us with the fertilizer, cheap fertilizer. What do? They take 10% of the fertilizer to be just sand, so that they get money to recover the billions that they financed for the campaign of the government. You now get me. And also they save money for future, assuming that they they used 2 billion. I'm just saying, assuming they used 2 billion to campaign for the current government, and they also want 3 billion for the 2027 campaign season. That is a total of 5 billion. I'm only giving figures. So that explains why uh, instead of giving out 100 bags of fertilizer, they give 90 bags, and 10 of the 10 bags are just sand, so that that money can be used in this campaign, the recovering the last campaign that they used, and also have money to give the same people money, campaign money for the next election. The second thing that comes to mind, they would expect the government to protect them should they be exposed. Remember, they gave out sand instead of fertilizer. They would expect the government, if the thing has come up, they would expect the government to come out with shenanigans to cover up the story of, what do you call, to cover up the story of fertilizer. They would come out with such things to cover out the story of fertilizer, so that the government feels indebted to them. This now brings about the issue of Linturi sacking. You see, Linturi and the company that gave out the fertilizer, if one has to sink, whom do you think will sink? Me, I think the government would make Linturi sink, because I said the company would want money twice. They would want to recover what they used in the last campaign, and they also want to get money, finances for the next campaign. Can you compare that one with Linturi as an individual? No, you cannot do. If it comes to the two, you'd rather retain the company that that financed you and will finance you in 2027, but throw Linturis of this world under the bus. Let me address the Ruto must go universe. We have these people who say Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Let me address that universe. In Kenya, we shouted Koome must go. He went. Now we are shouting Kanja must go. Once Kanja goes, we forget and move on. We never ask ourselves why must go went. And you are giving the president and the government a very clever way to go about it. We shouted Koome must go. Koome went. We are now shouting Kanja must go. Then Kanja goes. But have we addressed why we said Koome must go? Have we addressed the issue of why Kanja must go? They will appoint another inspector general. A problem comes. Then we say Kwatenge must go. Kwatenge must go. Are we solving the problem? The only problem we are solving is we are giving the president and the government an excuse to be covering our face whenever there is a problem. He just knows that you just remove the inspector general or remove the affected minister, and we go on. So a clever operator, and Ruto happens to be, would just remove Linturi, and they must go, noise ends. The fertilizer people would go scot-free. Another thing that comes to my mind is placing people, anyone, and in this case Linturi, into a position of fear, and so on. Have Linturi arrested, have the fertilizer story dead, and get the timid Linturi back in the cabinet, even to a periphery portfolio, and he will never cause stress to you. Actually, he would be forever grateful to you. It is assumed that all ministries are equal. But let me tell you, there are some ministries which are, like what they said, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Let me ask you a question. There is the Ministry of Education. There is the Ministry of Agriculture. Those how big are those two ministries? And also the Ministry of Health. Those are the three ministries that that affect everybody in Kenya. Suppose you are taken back to the cabinet and given the Ministry for Forest. So all animals are equal, but some ministries are more equal than others. And once Linturi has been given that scare and whatever, and is taken to a ministry like that one of forestry, he will never cause a problem. So you understand what I'm trying to say here. One thing Ruto should be careful with is to study Raila history. Raila is one of the mentors of Ruto. And in my opinion, Raila is one of the Ruto's main, Raila is one of Ruto's major political mentors. Remember during the funeral in Nyanza, what Ruto told Sifuna. I hope you remember. I divide Kenya politics into two. There is the Kibaki type and Raila type. In the Kibaki type, we have Kalonzo Musyoka, we have Musalia Mudavadi, and so on. This is the politics of gentlemen. In the Raila politics, we have the politics of mobocracy. That is democracy through mob and violence. I know that Ruto is 98% of Raila camp and the remaining to be Kibaki type. So what Ruto should learn from Raila's past is one thing. When you gain new followers, keep the old followers. As at this point of time and whatever, Ruto appears to have discarded some of the people who were very close to him just before the 2022 general elections. He has taken up those who were in Raila's, those are the people who are now close to him. From where I am standing, it appears that Ruto should, when it comes to his, when he sees that his political survival is at risk, he would drop his supporters without a second thought. What I'm getting is that when, just like any other, many of the politicians, when he thinks that his political survival is at risk, he would drop his supporters without a second thought. It is apparent that before the Gen Z, it is apparent that before the Gen Z thing came in, Ruto had a plan for Rinturi. We were having problems to do with the fake fertilizer. And according to Ruto, he had a plan to on Linturi so as to defract or to defract his the issue of fake fertilizer. So Kenyans, next time we have a demonstration, like that one of Gen C. We should remember that the Gen C, what we call Gen C demonstration, gave a good excuse to Ruto to remove Linturi. Let me go back to Raila and Ruto and the issue of discarding supporters. I want us to go to that and learn something from that. We should learn from that I'm talking about learning lessons about discarding political uh, supporters if it is convenient to you. And I would warn Ruto that as you gain new supporters, kindly be careful not to lose your former supporters. Many Kenyans would not agree with me, but Kriegler said that both sides stole the 2007 election, such that it is impossible to know which side won. Let me tell you something. There is a constituency called Nyando. Nyando, the turnout was 105% of the registered voters. Even if we place the constitution and laws to make it mandatory for everybody to vote, we still will find it impossible to reach the 100% mark. The reason is we can have registered voters. The registration ends on a Monday and the voting is on a Wednesday. It could happen that between those 2 days, some of the registered voters would die. So it is impossible to have 100% turnout. But in Nyando, 2007, the turnout was 105%. They not only breached the 100% registered voters, but they had 105. And of course, Tharaka Nithi, the turnout was 2000% turnout. So Kriegler said that both sides stole election such that it is impossible to determine which side won. But that is not what I'm talking today. What I'm talking today is that look at the Rift Valley voting, how they voted in 2007 for Raila. Then look at the way Rift Valley voted in 2012, how they voted for Raila. Google is unable to give me an answer. I wanted to know what percentage of the voters who vote in Rift Valley who voted for Raila in 2007. And I also wanted to know how many in percentage in Rift Valley voted for Raila. It is obvious that majority, almost to a man, voted for Raila in 2007. And it is obvious that majority, almost to a man, did not vote for Raila in 2012. Rift Valley shifted. Let me cook my own figures for the purpose of you understanding. Let us assume that 2007, Raila got 80% of people who voted in Rift Valley. Let us also assume that in 2012, Raila got 20% of the votes in Rift Valley. You can see the paradigm shift, isn't it? What am I saying here? The drastic decline in Rift Valley in 2012 really affected Raila's chances in 2012. Yes, Raila gained elsewhere massively and whatever, but he should have maintained a very reasonable percentage in the subsequent election, of which he did not. And if you belong to the school of thought that 2012 Raila's elections were stolen, then you should know that if Raila would have maintained a reasonable percentage in Rift Valley in 2012, let us say for the purpose of mathematics, Let us say that 2007 Raila got 80%. Let us also assume that in 2012 Raila got 20%. Suppose Raila got 60% in 2012. Would, for those who believe that Raila's elections were stolen, do you want to tell me that anybody would have even thought of stealing Raila's votes if Raila would have moved from 80% to 60%? It would be impossible. Or they would still steal, but then they would still not get to him. I hope you understand. So Ruto should be warned that as he wins more people on his side, let's say he's winning the Nyanza and ODM areas like Mombasa and Western, as he should be warned that as he wins more people on his side, he should spare time and energy for those who are moving away. He should not just dismiss people and say, kwani Linturi ataniletea kura ngapi? Do not just be dismissive. If Raila would have fought to retain Rift Valley as though his political life depended on it, and in truth it depended on it, even massive rigging would not have affected Raila's election. So that is how I conclude that. But I also want to believe that when politicians differ, that is when we now get the truth. You know, when people are friendly, they don't disclose secrets of their friend. But when they differ, we get secrets.